Alright, you're welcome back. We are going to continue right where we left off. In the previous video we talked about giving our h1 a background color, and I asked you to do an assignment to give our h2 a background color, which I have done here. And in case you were not able to do that, you can just look at this and replicate what I've done here. Okay, so just to add, you can add many other properties to this. Okay, one of which is your width. If you look at this now, when we go full screen, you will see that your background color or background for section 1, your header spot section, it covers your entire screen. So what if you don't want that? What if you want it halfway or whatever? You know, we can do that, and we'll simply specify width. You specify width with the width property, put your colon, and let's say we want it to be 40% of the screen, and you put your semicolon. Okay, when we save this up and we refresh, you see it is much smaller now. Your background for your section, your spot section, is much smaller. And for good measure, we're just going to do this also for section for h2. So you just simply type width, which is our property, colon 40%, and then you put in your semicolon, and we'll save this. Okay, and here is what we have. Okay, so now we're going to be styling these two paragraphs, your paragraph 1 and your paragraph 2, differently. So how do you go about that? You will notice that there is a universal or a global effect to our p tag right now, and both paragraphs turned blue when we created this code here. So how do you tag this? How do you then style these two paragraphs separately? So what you do is, by creating your attributes, you either use your ID attributes or you use your class attributes. In this instance, we are going to use the class attributes. In our subsequent videos, we'll talk about the ID attributes. The class attribute is simply class equals to, and then you put in quotes, let's say para1 or para, to indicate a different paragraph. You know, having done this, we'll simply save. And mind you, we have not created a CSS rule for our para1, so our p tag will still take precedence over our para1. If we load, you will see that it is still rendered, our text is still rendered in blue. So now we are going to create a CSS rule for that. And in creating a CSS rule, one very important thing you have to put into consideration is the fact that when you are calling your selector, because para becomes our selector for this particular first paragraph, when you are calling your selector, you have to start with a period, that's a full stop, and then you type your para, and you put in your squiggly brackets, you write color, you put your semicolon there. Your color is the property, put your semicolon, and then of course we use the value red, and you put your semicolon, and you close it all with your squiggly bracket. We're just going to save this, and we are going to render this in Microsoft Edge. And as you can see, our text has turned into red. Our text is now displayed in red, and that is how you add your class attribute. And with your class attribute, you can then treat this particular paragraph as a separate paragraph from, you know, the paragraph under header 2, and that way you can design it differently if you don't want it to be designed globally. Okay, so that's how you work with your paragraph. Okay, that should do it for this particular video. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in our next tutorial.